Welcome, everybody, to a playoff clinching edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show, along with Zach Meisel, Adam the Bull. And Zach, how did it go with the champagne yesterday?
I stayed pretty dry. Veteran knows how to get around one of those slyly. Not everyone was as fortunate.
Ooh.
But it was, it wasn't one that I think I'll remember forever. But
Did
I think,
Hoinsey having trouble?
yeah,
Mandy Bell? Like, what happened?
yeah, I mean, if Miles Straw hadn't returned, I think Hoinsey would have stayed dry, but there's no escaping the wrath of Miles Straw, I guess.
Isn't that weird that Miles Straw gets to celebrate when he was here for 2 days, 3 days?
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone's like, take the opportunities when they arise, right?
Yeah.
You can't pick and choose. But it does stink for someone like Tyler Freeman, who's in Columbus watching from afar.
Yeah.
He was with the team all season. Miles Straw's with the team 2 days. And
yeah. And one more thing before we officially open the show. Were you surprised they celebrated clinching a playoff spot and didn't wait to clinching the division?
Yes. I had heard for a little while that this was going to be the case, and it's not what I would do, but like, whatever. I get it, I guess. But then when things played out the way they did, and now they celebrated yesterday, they could clinch the division as early as tomorrow.
Yes.
That's a lot of party. I mean, I don't know. I can't hang like I used to in my college days. That's a lot of partying in a short period of time.
Is that a good thing? We'll discuss that and a whole lot more. The Guardians are in the playoffs, and hopefully can get as high as the number 1 seed. That's all coming up on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. Welcome back. Zach's in St. Louis, where the Guardians will play their final road series of the regular season. 3-game set beginning tonight in St. Louis. And a smooth flight, obviously, since you got in early.
Piece of cake.
I love it. It's always nice when it happens that way. A lot to get to. Guardians, as you mentioned, getting close to winning the division. Their magic number is down to 3. The Guardians are 89-65. The Royals are 82-71. So that's 9 games left in the season for the Royals. The most wins they could get to is 91. The Guardians have 89 wins. And if they had the tiebreaker, the magic number would be 2, but they don't have the tiebreaker. So it's 3. So any combination of 3 Guardians wins and Royals losses will clinch the division. So it's probably about a 99% chance the Guardians are going to win the Central at this point.
Yeah, and I would think that they, it's going to happen in a few days. Look, I went back. I had a little bit of time to kill this morning, and I said, you know what, Adam, we started this show the week of opening day. I think it was March 25th or something.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, one of our main talking points in our very first episode was Miles Straw being cut.
That's true.
And now he's back.
Time
is a flat circle. And I wanted to know.
I was pissed in the first game because he got caught stealing. Picked off, of course.
Yes, we should probably get to that. But I wanted to know, like, what were we thinking? What were our thoughts coming into this season? Because everything is like how you feel about a year is often shaped by how it compared to what your expectations were.
Right.
And so if you're a Phillies fan or a Yankees fan, you're probably not enjoying the journey of 162 because you expect to win 90 games every single season and it's World Series or bust. And there should be some level of expectations like that in Cleveland because it's been 76 years since the franchise won a World Series. But nobody expected that to be this year. So I went back and listened. And
nice.
Especially in the context of the division, we laid it out and we said, I think we said it could be a 3-team race between Minnesota, Cleveland, and Detroit.
Right.
Twins were the favorites. We thought they'd beat up on the Royals and the White Sox, though we did say we thought the Royals would be better. not this good.
Yeah.
We said the White Sox were terrible. And in the end, I think we agreed that you could lay out any scenario for the Guardians that was within reason, and we'd believe it. I said their range of potential win totals was 73 to 93. And I said I thought that they'd wind up in the middle of that,
Yeah.
like 83 or so. They're 93 is probably where they're going to wind up, 93,
Yeah.
94.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of us thought that that was going to happen. And the funny thing is, when we started talking to the very end of the show about like what has to go right if they're gonna, like, they have a chance to win 90 games, win the
Yeah.
division, but what would that look like? And we said Bieber, Cy Young campaign,
Yeah.
really strong rotation, a second half that is better because you have Kyle Manzardo, Chase DeLauder, some trade
Yeah.
acquisitions. So I think the thing that stands out to me the most about this year is they've reached the highest expected outcomes. Like your craziest dreams about how this 162 would go, they have achieved. But it's gone so backwards, not according to the plan anyone thought.
Right.
And I actually think that makes it more enjoyable. You know, you asked, like, are you surprised that they're celebrating twice? Think about how they got here. Think about who is celebrating. It's Joey Cantillo popping champagne. It's not Shane Bieber. It's Daniel Schneemann, not, Ahmed Rosario or someone who cemented themselves as the shortstop of the future. So it's guys who haven't done it. It's been such a collective thing, and I think it's made it more enjoyable for those who have followed it for 6 months, and then certainly for those on the roster.
You make a lot of great points there. I'll start with the fact that, it's funny because the first half of the year felt so much fun. We were enjoying every game. And then at the halfway point, the expectations have changed. You made the point, well, we didn't have high expectations for this team in the beginning of the season. Yankees fans do, Phillies fans do. So they're not going to enjoy the ride. We enjoyed the ride in the first half. They didn't play as well in the second half. That was part of the reason fans were frustrated. But it was not just that they didn't play well. It's that the expectations had changed. You now thought of this team differently at the All-Star break than you felt about them before the season. So you weren't expecting them to just be okay. You were expecting them to play very well because that's how they played early. In terms of what had to go right for this team, there was no way I could have envisioned, or I'm sure you the same, that it was going to be led essentially by the bullpen because, yes, David Fry and Stephen Kwan had great first halves. But if you gave me, if we, on that first show, if we discussed the final stats of all the offensive players, there would be nothing shocking, right? Like whose numbers would be shocking because Stephen Kwan's numbers are, what they are. By the end of the season, they're good, but they're not blow your mind good. Who is there? Anybody? I'm trying to think of anybody in the lineup that you're like, wow, I would not have expected him to have those final numbers. I don't see it.
No, I think if you would have just showed me the names, like this is how often this guy's going to pitch. This is how many at bats this guy's going to get, and not even shown me the stats. If you would have told me like Hunter Gaddis is going to cover 70 innings, and Tim Herron and Cade Smith and Boyd and Cobb and Carrasco, and I would have said this team's going to lose 95 games.
Yes. I mean, especially if you had, and then if you take it and say, okay, show me the statistics of just the hitters and the starting pitchers. Don't show me the bullpen. Because you look at the hitting stats and the starting pitching stats, and everybody from the beginning of the year would have either been what you expected or significantly worse, especially on the starting pitching side in terms of not pitching enough innings or their stats themselves. So, yeah, it is a stunner. Obviously, the bullpen made a massive difference. I was looking at it as of a couple of days ago when they had I don't know what their bullpen ERA is right now. I know it was 2.65 a couple of days ago.
And then it was the day they clinched 5 2/3 from the bullpen. No hits, no runs, no hits.
And their team bullpen ERA, I had the stat. Of course, I don't have it in front of me now. I believe it was at the time the lowest bullpen ERA in about a decade.
Yeah, I actually have.
You have that?
I do have that.
Wasn't it like
So
the
they're
Mariners of 2014 or something?
yeah. So their team ERA, assuming Fangraphs loads.
Yeah.
The lowest bullpen ERAs of the last 30 years
Yeah.
are number one, the 2003 Dodgers at 246. That's a team that had Eric Gagne winning the Cy Young Award.
Right.
And the 2013 Braves at 246, which had
Right.
Kimbrel like at the peak of his powers.
Prime. Yeah.
And then it's the 2013 Royals at 255. That's when they had all those guys who a year later would lead them to
the World Series. Yeah.
And then the 2014 Mariners.
Right. And then the
at
Guardians,
259.
Right?
And then the 2002 Braves at 260.
Okay.
And then the Guardians at 264.
So it's number 6.
They have the 6th best bullpen ERA of the last 30 years.
I mean, that's just crazy. It's historically good.
And it's 3 first-timers. That's the other thing. It's not guys. They haven't assembled a bullpen full of veterans who have done it for a few years,
right,
who are proven commodities. These are guys who weren't even supposed to be on the roster on opening day, and because they had injuries and illnesses in the clubhouse, like they just had to throw this thing together. And it's not only is it the best bullpen, it's been the best bullpen from the start.
Yeah.
You know, Cade Smith's first outing of his career, he goes 2 innings, strikes out 5.
Yep.
So it hasn't changed since day one. And you said it, like a good bullpen can mask not everything, but some of those deficiencies in the lineup and in the rotation. It helps the coaching staff more than anything. They don't have to push that starting pitcher one more batter. They don't have to. They can think of things differently. You can make the pinch hitting move that makes sense in the 5th inning, even though normally you'd say, this might be too early, but take your shot then. Because if it works and you take the lead,
right,
you've got guys who are going to throw a scoreless 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
And you could do even now in the playoffs when you get there, you could be even more aggressive in terms of doing that because now it's all hands on deck for the rest of the season. You're not worried about how much did this guy pitch or did he pitch yesterday or, you're going to get more. And overall, even though these guys have pitched a good amount of innings, they've gotten more rest in the second half than they did in the first. Part of that was because they were losing more. But also, it's not like these guys were throwing multiple innings. I mean, Clase, I don't think threw multiple innings at all.
Just once.
Once, okay.
Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, so, I mean, right, okay. But it didn't happen much with any of these guys. They should be in pretty good shape going to the playoffs. They're obviously playing much better the last 3 weeks after, not playing great for 2 months. They seem to be peaking at the right time. I like the way Kyle Manzardo's hitting right now, as we transition to the offense. By the way, I don't understand why he let Hedges hit earlier in the game, and I don't understand why he pinch hit for Manzardo. But anyway, I'm not going to.
And you wanted Manzardo to stay in Columbus the rest of the season, right?
Yeah. I certainly did not want Manzardo. No, he's been a nice addition. He's had some really big hits for them over the last few days that have given him a chance in these games with the 2 walk-off wins. I'm a little all over the place. But, yeah, I mean, I think they're in good shape right now. Yes, they are still a flawed team. You're not comfortable with really any of their starters outside of Bybee. You're not confident that they give you a good game. And there are a lot of holes in the lineup. And even some of your better hitters like Kwan, who's on the injured list right now, are not, playing particularly great. But I still, even with their flaws, feel very good about their chances in the playoffs. And listen, we know this. We know that the Guardians in this year, and more than any, they could lose in the first round. Well, whatever, second round, because they'll probably not play in the first round. And they could go to the World Series. I mean, we could feel good about them all we want. You could face the Orioles or the Astros or whoever you're going to play in the second round, and you could be out of there because you don't get those leads to let the bullpen. That's it. I mean, that's the bottom line is at this point, I'm expecting all their all their key guys in the pen to pitch well in the playoffs. And I'm expecting if the Guardians have a lead by the 4th or 5th inning, they're going to win the game 9 times out of 10. But, I mean, they could easily just not get those leads. And that may happen, and we may be disappointed. But I just really feel like they're going to make a good run in this postseason. And I don't love anybody else in the American League. I don't think anybody's that good. For a while, and again, I apologize because I'm kind of all over the place, but for a while we were like, well, you'd rather be the 2 seed because then you avoid the Yankees. You don't have to play the Yankees or the Orioles. I'm not worried about it. All these teams are decent. The Guardians could lose to any of them, but they could definitely beat any of them. The Orioles don't feel that good right now. They're playing terrible baseball. And so I'm like, whatever. Let's try to get the 1 seed. Yankees lost yesterday. You're only a half game back. So let's go. I don't know what you make out of all those ramblings, but have at it.
I don't think there's another team that has such a clear-cut formula to how to get past this. And that doesn't mean that it's going to work and it's going to be foolproof. But, you're saying like they're going to lean on that bullpen and they get a lead in the 5th inning. You feel confident they're going to win. I don't think there's another team that feels that way.
No, not at all.
And I think that's an advantage. I'm with you. Anything's on the table. Any team, we've seen these Dodgers teams that have just been these juggernauts year after year after year bow out in the first round because baseball is weird and random. And while the better rosters have the better chance of winning in a 5-game series, a lot can happen.
Right.
The one thing for the Guardians is that in a 5-game series with a couple of off days in there, you lean on that bullpen and you're playing close games. And this team has been really good in close games. So they could lose in the first round and they could win the World Series. I think anything's realistic. And if you're going to say, well, they can't beat the big team, the tough team. Well, they've played good teams tough. They've taken care of business when they needed to. I mean, they've played the Phillies and the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Orioles tougher than they play the White Sox for the most part. I mean, it's like they have checked every box to this point. There are still flaws on this roster, but as you said, look around the American League. I mean, I think everyone was waiting for the Yankees or the Orioles to just run away, be the 1 seed. It's September 20th. The Guardians are still right there. They're a half game behind the Yankees. So you don't become the 1 seed by accident. You don't get a first round bye by accident. And
you can't even say, Zach, in the past, the argument could have been, well, the Central stinks. So that's why the Guardians record is inflated. That's far from the case. Now you're going to have 3 teams for the Central make the playoffs. I still think it's going to be the Tigers and not the Twins for that last spot, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's been fascinating. But I think I just these aren't, the Astros are tough. But the reputation is doing a lot of the work there.
Yeah.
These are not the same Astros who were banging trash cans and slugging home runs.
No, not
it's
at all.
It's a very different team. It's not, I mean, who knows? They could again, I think the playing field in the American League is so even.
Yes.
They could make the World Series, but I don't think there's some daunting opponent you can't get past them. We've talked about the Yankees plenty. Yes, they have 2 of the 4 best hitters in baseball, and that shouldn't be understated whatsoever. They also are a flawed team. The rest of the lineup is weaker. Their pitching staff has some major questions. They're operating basically without a back end of the bullpen. So the Orioles have just been mired in this crazy slump for a while. They're going to play the Twins and the Tigers over the next week and have a lot of say in how this playoff seeding shakes out. I don't know. If I was a Guardians fan, I would be feeling good about the season, and I'd be at peace with the fact that it's okay if you want to raise expectations and say that you think that this team can make a run. I think I don't think you're crazy, and I don't think you're blinded by your fandom if you believe that.
They have a niche that other teams don't have. And as you said, I mean, you laid it out there. When it comes to the Yankees, I can't remember if I said this with you on Monday or I said it on my pod. I don't remember now, so I'll say it again. The Yankees, fans look at the Yankees like fans look at the Ravens and Steelers. Fans always assume the Yankees have a great lineup because they're used to the Yankees always having a great lineup, just like you always assume that the Ravens and Steelers are good on defense, but they're not every year. They're more often than not they are. But the Yankees lineup, as you said, is completely flawed. They have as many. Listen, we're not going to argue that Soto and Judge isn't as scary a combo as there is in baseball. Jazz Chisholm, solid. He's been good for them. And Stanton, who can be pitched to, can obviously be dangerous with the home run at times. The rest of their lineup is nothing. Gleyber Torres has been he's just a mediocre player. Volpe's been terrible this year. Rizzo is a shell of what he was. He's not the same player anymore. Their catchers are not very good. It's not dissimilar to what the Guardians have, which is, a big drop-off after the first few guys in the lineup. And meanwhile, and I'll say this against every other team, meanwhile, we got a great pen. Their pen's fine. But what none of these teams have, what Baltimore doesn't have, only the Astros, I would say, of the other teams have a closer. And Hader, is not what he once was. He's still really good. He's still probably the second best closer of all these teams. But like the Yankees, I don't even know who their closer is right now. The Orioles, they're using Sir Anthony Dominguez. You trust that guy in a big spot? No chance. So the teams you're most concerned about have, some issues in the bullpen.
This might be silly. Would you feel better if like Cade Smith and Clase gave up a run in the last week of the regular season just to get it out of their system?
You didn't say Gaddis because I know Gaddis gave up a run in the extra innings on, what was it, Wednesday? No. Yeah, Wednesday. I almost like they're too hot. So let him go. I don't believe in that.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't think they need to give up a run. It's not like, they're due to give up a run. I mean, Clase, it feels like hasn't given up a run all year. So certainly not with him. I kind of I got to feel like these guys are all going into the playoffs with a boatload of confidence. And I'm okay with that. I don't want that. If there's any chance of that confidence being dinged, I don't want to mess with it. And I like that Hunter Gaddis, after giving up the lead on Wednesday, goes right back. They throw him right back out there yesterday. Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3. He's out of the inning. I mean, the rare bad innings that Cade Smith and Hunter Gaddis have had, the only time I can remember them ever following it up with a bad outing was those back-to-back bad outings from Gaddis against the Braves, I believe. There was a lot of thought internally that he was tipping his pitches. And he cleaned that up. So what about 2017? Did you think that they peaked too soon when they won 22 in a row and then finished like 37-4? And then I did. It's easy to say now that they did peak too soon. I don't believe. I think that's just a coincidence. Why I don't think they lost for that reason. I guess did the players feel that way? I don't remember.
No, and I mean they won the first 2 games of that series against the Yankees. I think they just sort of collapsed in on themselves the last 3. But I never what do you want them to do? Like punt again, lose on purpose? And what does that change?
I think they've clinched at a good time, not too early, not too late. You clinched the division hopefully by tomorrow. Certainly you would think by Sunday, the latest. And then you set up your rotation the way you want it here. And although I guess that doesn't matter because they're going to have a bye.
But it does because I think the way it shakes out right now, Tanner Bybee would start on Tuesday.
Okay.
And that's it. So you'd potentially have like a 10-day layoff for him.
Yeah, I don't love that.
So he could you could boot somebody else. I'm trying to think of who would. I guess Cantillo would be lined up for the season finale. No, Gavin Williams would be lined up for the season finale. Like you could rearrange things, and I'm sure you will. Because you don't want Bybee having that long of a layoff. But these off days next week kind of screw things up too, because you're off Monday, you're off Thursday, then you're probably going to have 3 or 4 days off with the first round bye. So you've got to sort out your pitching staff and how you want to use it. It's great for the bullpen. It's great for like Stephen Kwan. But I think it's not ideal in trying to, and it's good for Alex Cobb actually, but it's not ideal in trying to sort out your rotation.
Is the first game they'd play would be on that Friday, right? or Saturday.
I'd have to. Yeah, I think there's some of the series, the DS Division Series start Friday and some start Saturday, I think.
So, and what is the latest with Cobb, by the way, Zach?
Yeah, so he threw this week, and it's one of those things where it's like, I think they have a plan. They have a timetable for him to get back to make one start for them, and then hopefully he's good. But because it's one of those where it's like he's got to get on the mound and throw and test that blister to make sure it's not affected by his pitching. Like, you don't actually know that he can check the box and move on to the next step until he does it. So I think he's cleared everything so far. And they're going to want him to throw in a minor league game and then back up in a big league game, I would think late next week.
Yeah.
But it's going to be one of those, just, you have to wait and see, and you don't know.
I mean, listen, Joey Cantillo's pitched 3 good games in a row. I can't believe I'm saying this, but he may, they may have to consider the way he's pitched.
I mean, you could have a really quick hook with him.
Yeah.
He could start, if you started him the day before an off day.
Right. Yeah.
And you needed to pull him after 2 innings, you could somehow cobble together 7 with your pen, and then, knowing you have an off day the next day, push Cade Smith to 2 innings, push whoever else, Clase, to 2 innings.
Yeah. Yeah, we know Gaddis. I mean, obviously he was a starter in the minors, so he can go 2 innings.
Yeah, it's not ideal. And
no,
I think
sure.
some of it depends on how you get there, but it's still an evaluation. Like, who do you trust? Gavin Williams was good, so that helps.
Yep.
Boyd was shaky. That was probably his worst start so far. So you want to see him rebound. It's definitely a bit of a mess. I think the good thing is, at worst, you can find 3 or 4 options who it's like, just get through the lineup once.
Right.
Twice would be a gift.
Yeah. I definitely think that Bibby's got to pitch Sunday, the last day of the season, at least a few innings, because he'll still get full rest for his first playoff game, whether they play Friday or Saturday. Doesn't matter. It'll at least be 4 days in between. And even if you want to do, even if they're stacking these guys, let's say he pitches 3 innings and Gavin Williams pitches 3 innings, whatever it might be. Obviously they got to take care of business. They don't want to go. You want to go into that Astro series at least 4 games. What's the tiebreaker scenario with the Astros? I don't remember offhand.
So Houston took 2 of 3, but that's still up for grabs.
Okay, so
but they're so far ahead.
Right.
It should be okay.
Yes, you should be okay. You don't want to go into that series with the Astros having a chance, because you want to be able to do whatever you want that weekend and it not matter whether you win or lose.
And if you're the Astros and you're, they're going to be setting it up so that they can try to sweep that series, obviously. But they're also thinking, if they can't catch the Guardians, they need to set up their pitching so that they have their best guys going in their wild card series. So it would almost benefit both teams if there's nothing to play for. You know what I mean?
That's
like
true.
The worst case scenario for Houston would be still having a shot at the 2 seed, getting to that series, and then not getting it, and then having not set up their pitching and going into a wild card series with they're 4 and 5.
That's true. Now, one thing I kind of ignored in that discussion about that last weekend against Houston is if they still have a chance to clinch the 1 seed, which they likely will going into that weekend. Now, the Yankees have a pretty easy, well, they play Baltimore still, but the Yankees are in Oakland for the next 3 games. Then they're off Monday. Then they have 3 with the Orioles at home, 3 with the Pirates at home. And, of course, the Yankees have the tiebreaker over the Guardians, so the Guardians have to finish ahead of them to get the 1 seed. But it'll be interesting to see if they're tied, or if the Guardians have a chance to get the 1 seed that final weekend, if Stephen Vogt plays it to, if it means something to get that 1 seed for him on that final weekend.
Yeah, and if they wind up the 2 seed, you face Houston to end the season, and then if Houston wins their wild card series, you face Houston again in the division series. So how much of the players who would play a big role in that series will you see the last weekend of the regular season? There's a lot to decide here. And then obviously the Twins and Tigers are fighting here, and I would think one of them will wind up the 6th seed.
Yep.
And as it stands, would play Houston with the winner facing the Guardians. So it's
That's right.
possible one of those teams upsets the Astros and then comes right back to Cleveland. So
Do you know offhand who has the tiebreaker between the Twins and Tigers?
the Twins do.
Twins do. All right. So they're tied with 9 games left to go. So the Tigers have
Well, yeah, check this. See who the Tigers wind up facing at the end.
wow. Tigers 3 at Baltimore this weekend. Then they're home, final 6 games, Tampa and the White Sox. That is pretty sweet. So they have a good chance there. The Twins, their final schedule, they are in Boston this weekend. They have Miami at home, which is a good series for them. But then they have to finish with Baltimore. Man, if it comes down to the last week and Tigers last weekend, Tigers playing the White Sox, and the Twins playing the. I like, even before looking at the schedule, I like the Tigers more. I like them even more after seeing the schedule. They're just playing really well.
They're 25-10 in their last 35 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. Who's
Since
Kansas
declaring themselves sellers, they've just gone nuclear.
Kansas City, because Kansas City's only 2 ahead of both of them. I guess Kansas City's got 3 at home with the Giants this weekend. Then they're on the road the final week, Washington and Atlanta. Obviously, they have not been playing well of late. They've lost 6 of 9 and 4 in a row. But you know, we'll see how it goes. But we don't have to worry about any of that because the Guardians have clinched the playoffs. They clinched the division soon. One other thing for baseball before we wrap it up with the fan comments: Shohei Ohtani did it yesterday. Did you see his final stat line?
Legitimately might be the greatest game anyone's ever had offensively.
6 for 6, 3 homers, 2 doubles, and a single. I don't know if you saw the highlights, but one of his doubles, he got thrown out at third trying to get a triple, which, then he would have had the cycle on top of it. He had 10 ribbies, I think 5 runs scored. I can't remember how many runs scored. 2 stolen bases. He has 51 homers and 51 stolen bases.
And
just nuts.
There's like a weird effect here, and I don't know if it's just me, so tell me how you feel. He's so otherworldly that I'm almost numb to it. Like, I get a notification that says, hey, he's in the 50-50 club, and it's like, like, no one has ever done that. I don't know if anyone ever will. And oh, by the way, he's also like he's an all-star caliber pitcher. This is the year he's rehabbing from Tommy John surgery and still might wind up on the mound at some point in the playoffs. And it's just like, it's the stuff of fable. It's just not even, it's not believable almost. And I've just become, it's a shame. I feel like we don't appreciate it as much as we should because it almost seems fake. It truly is like playing on rookie mode in Madden and you're just beating the computer 95-0 and your quarterback throws for 800 yards and 12 touchdowns. And it's like, it's just, I see his stats, I see his accomplishments, and it's just, I don't know. I think because no one else could ever possibly do what he's doing, it just seems fake.
I think there's also some level of some people trying to discredit him in some way. I don't know what it is. Because he there was I know I think John Heyman, who covers MLB, was trying to make an argument for Francisco Lindor a week or two ago being the MVP. I mean, is it because he's a DH? I mean, I don't know what it is. Listen, Lindor's having a tremendous season. He's really having a great season. He should be top 3, 4, 5 for MVP in the American League. But there was no debate. I mean, it's not just the 50-50. It's the OPS. It's the WAR. I mean, it's everything you look at. And it's just, it's almost like, in a way, it feels like you're coaching when I coach Little League, and there's one kid that's so much better than all the other kids that you poo-poo what he does because you're like, the competition's not fair. He's just too much better. Well, this is
remember Danny Almonte?
Right.
In the Little Leagues, he turned out he was like 16 facing 12-year-olds. That's what this is like.
That it is what it feels like. It's just crazy. Now, can he get 55-55? I'm not putting anything against him. I mean, it's just bonkers. All right, let me give you something from FanDuel, folks. If you're thinking about using FanDuel, now is the time. FanDuel.com, whether it's baseball, football, whatever sport you're interested in, FanDuel's got you covered. It is America's #1 sports book. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to download America's #1 sports book. That's FanDuel.com/LOCKEDON and to download America's #1 sports book with FanDuel. All right, let's get to fan comments here. A lot of people watching live. We appreciate it, folks. The Guardians have clinched a playoff spot, and their magic number for winning the division, if you weren't with us earlier, is 3. They are a half game behind the Yankees for the top seed, but the Yankees have the tiebreaker, so the Guardians will need to finish a game ahead. In terms of clinching at least a bye, let's see. So the Astros are 83-70, so the most they could win is 92. And the Astros have the tiebreaker, so I guess it's 4 clinching. That would be to clinch a bye. Their magic number is 4. So the talk of could it come down to that last weekend? Probably not the case. The Guardians would have to pretty much lose every game between now and then, and the Astros would have to win almost every game. Stephen K, excited to talk about our playoff-bound Guardians. Woo-woo. I didn't do a good woo-woo. Everybody's excited. We are all excited. Let's see. Knight Riders Augmented Reality was at the game yesterday. We were October-bound. Class better? Oh, Class A, meant to say. Class A better win the Cy Young this year, or it's a disgrace. I'm sorry. He's probably – now, maybe I'm wrong.
We've talked about like the perfect storm that has to happen to win, and he's everything has fallen into place except one person.
Except for Scooble.
Yeah. And if he was slightly worse, I think there'd be a really healthy debate.
And especially if the Tigers make the playoffs, because everybody's going to say he got, because they don't go to the playoffs without him.
Right.
Obviously, the Guardians probably don't without Class A either. But the fact that the Tigers have stormed into the playoffs potentially here at the end of the season, led by their starting pitching, led by him, it's just, and there's a lot of voters that won't vote for a closer. The Guardians have bigger fish to fry. Class A's had a great year. I hope he does win the Cy Young. I just don't think it's going to happen.
The bigger argument is Cade Smith, Rookie of the Year.
It's an interesting one.
I feel like that's got no attention.
Huh. What have you seen the Rookie of the Year odds?
I haven't seen the odds. It's one of those difficult awards because you have to compare pitchers and hitters, and it's I don't know that like a voter in San Diego realizes Cade Smith has been dominant pitching in high leverage since April.
Yeah, a setup guy is unlikely to get. You got Luis Heel of the Yankees. I didn't realize he was a rookie. I don't know why I didn't think about that. Wyatt Langford, Wilyer Abreu, Colt Keith. I mean, the National League has the better rookies this year between Churio, Jackson Merrill, and Paul Skeens. I mean, but the American League, there's no clear guy, so he should be in consideration. But I doubt he'll win it.
Well, what would a rookie reliever have to do to win it?
You'd have to be a closer, I think.
He has been, if you care about WAR, he leads the majors among relievers in WAR. Higher than Mason Miller, higher than Emmanuel Clase. Cade Smith is #1, I think by a little bit of a margin too.
Right.
He's the first Cleveland reliever with 100 strikeouts since Paul Shuey in 1999.
Which is nuts.
I mean, what do you like? He has had. I haven't looked at the best rookie relief seasons ever, but I would imagine this is up there.
Yeah, but that the older voters are it's going to be off their radar.
Yeah.
I think the younger voters will get it and he'll get votes, but there'll be some older voters that like he won't even be on their radar at all.
And I haven't looked at like what Colton Cowser's done lately or anything like that. Sure. And I don't have a Rookie of the Year vote, so I haven't paid too close of attention to it. But if you're thinking of like you need to be compelled to vote for someone in this because it's like Cy Young's easy. Show me the numbers and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's that. But with rookie, it's like sometimes you need a little bit of a narrative because how am I supposed to compare what a pitcher does from a pitcher who gets called up in June to a position player who's been there since day one? It's weird. And Cade Smith, like you might glance at the numbers and say, hey, that's impressive. Like, good job. But most
Right.
rookie relievers are pitching mop-up duty.
Oh, yeah.
And that has not been the case for
Not
him.
at all.
So it's going to take a little bit more research and understanding of his season for, I think, voters to get it right.
Yeah. Who's going to win Manager of the Year? Is it Vogt? Is it Cortero?
So that's the other. We were talking about this in the press box yesterday. You
Yeah.
could have a clean sweep by the AL Central.
Oh, yeah.
You know, maybe AJ Hinch sneaks in there third.
Yeah.
Because I would think Q and Vogt in some order are 1
Right.
and 2.
Yep. Yeah. Let's see. Mike, I'm glad they celebrated. The season is a grind. Have to stop and enjoy it when you can. They still know that wasn't the ultimate goal. Yeah, ultimately, I don't have a problem with them celebrating. I mean, celebrate a lot. Who cares? That's the type of team they are that keeps them loose. Good. Let's do it.
And they blew it out yesterday. So I'll
Yeah.
be curious to see, especially if they clinch tomorrow.
Yeah.
You going to do it again? Or is it just like a toast and maybe
I think they might.
maybe you go like wine
Party.
instead of beer and champagne? Maybe you go some red wine or something.
Did you see what the Brewers did with Jackson Churio? That was funny. For those who didn't see it, he's 20 years old. He's a great player. And they brought out a baby carriage with non-alcoholic, I don't know if it's champagne or beer or what. Let's see. Derek Parslow. Also, Zach, is your guys' opinion, does Ohtani's game yesterday beat Sean Green's in 2002? Sean Green hit the 4 home runs that year.
19 total bases, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was like 4 home runs and a double. And
yeah,
I mean, I like those are the two that get mentioned a lot. Yeah. I guess I was thinking more Ohtani, just knowing that 50-50 record was there and saying, I already hit one today, I already stole a base or two, but like let's do it again. Let's just hit another one and then another one on top of that.
Derek says, also, Zach, is there a backstory to Jimenez saying thank you, Rocco?
I think was that after yesterday's game.
I don't even know. I don't remember
field,
that.
I think. No, there's some animosity, I think, between these two clubs.
Dating
back a couple years, just various things being said, and also like these two teams, every game they play is close.
Yep.
And that's what, the 4th walk-off they've had against the Twins this year, or at least 4th win in their last at bat, maybe. And Jimenez, I mean, he's had a couple. Remember, he hit the walk-off home run against them.
Yeah.
Was that 2 years ago? And then he did like the good night thing.
That's true.
Them,
yeah.
I think they savor spoiling the Twins season.
I also thought when Morgan hit Matt Wallner, like that was close to the head. Well, I was wondering, like, is there some bad blood off of that? I mean, not with Jimenez, but like, I wonder going forward because like Wallner got the first and he was kind of looking at Morgan, like, and Wallner's a big dude. Do
you know who Wallner's best friend is, or one of his close friends is actually Nick Sandlin?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they went to college together.
Okay. Tyler, believe land. Let's sweep the Cards, take the Central Division, get ready for October. Tommy, okay, Guards, don't let up. Take the division with a hopeful first seed. Sparse, love you, Bull and Zach. Thank you, Sparse. Tommy, Yankees are good, but as history has shown, Aaron Judge goes silent in the postseason. I don't think first of all, I don't think you can expect that. There have been a lot, baseball's a weird game. A-Rod had been really bad in the playoffs for many years, and then the last time the Yankees won, he had a great postseason. So I don't think you could. The Guardians have done well against Aaron Judge in the past. I think we all know that, but I'm still concerned about Aaron Judge. I'm not taking him lightly. And by the way, he has played well in the playoffs. He just hasn't played well against the Guardians. There's been other series where he's played well. I mean, he's hit 13 home runs. Do
you think the key to beating them is just being careful with him and Soto?
Absolutely. And especially because the Guardians don't have the dominant starting pitching that they've had in the past when they've handled Judge. And so I'd be a little cautious. I know the Guardians are not going to be, but I'd caution the fans to don't be cocky when it comes to Aaron Judge. Because, he'll make you pay. And I don't think the Guardians are going to be stupid. They're not going to take him and Soto lightly. You got to make other people beat you. Let's see. Buckeye guy, we can't beat the Yankees. They scare me. Come on. They can beat the Yankees. Tommy, Yankees and Royals scare me. Young Ackman, I'd rather play the Orioles over the Houston Trash Cans. Redhead Stepchild, we can beat anyone. Let's go Guardians. Buckeye Guy, Jose Ramirez has to come back or we're done. Obviously, he's not been great lately. Man, he crushed that ball to right field.
Twice. He did. He had one to left and one to right.
Right. The one to right later in the game, I mean, man, I didn't think it had any chance to be fair, and then it was close.
The one to left, like, landed on that, like, the home run porch, like, over in that area, and Nick Camino from Channel 3 was actually walking into the ballpark and snatched it.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
All right, look at Nick.
And then refused to give it to any little kids.
That sounds on point for him. I'm not surprised. Evan 419, Twins tears are the best. Yeah, Mike, appreciate you guys bringing the Guardians content. Need some live post-game shows during the playoffs. It's a perfect time to tell you what's going to be happening for the playoffs because Zach and I just figured this out yesterday. So here's what we're going to do. If the Guardians play a daytime playoff game, which often in the early rounds they do because they're not a prized TV team.
You don't think that Guardians-Tigers AL Division Series is going to be primetime?
Probably not. We know the Yankees get the prime time, so they're going to be in the prime time. So if the Guardians play a daytime playoff game, we will, a few hours after the game, and we'll let you know day of, we will come on and do a post game. We're not going to come on right after because Zach's got some stuff. Obviously, got to go to the clubhouse and he's got to work on his stuff. So he's got plenty he's got to do. But we will come on the night after a day game and do a live show. If the Guardians do play a night game, which hopefully they get later in the playoffs, then they will play night games. Then we'll do it first thing the next morning like we do normally, probably 9 a.m. So we will be on after every Guardians playoff game, either the night of or the morning after. Every game, though. No exception. So at least that's the plan now. Buckeye Guy thinks the Brewers are going to win it all. That would be a surprise. They've had a great season. Their manager, Pat Murphy, he's going to win Manager of the Year in the National League, I would think.
I mean, if he and Vogt both win, there's a cool story there because they both, they were all in Milwaukee together with Craig Counsell in 2018. Vogt was out for the year with a shoulder injury. Murphy was the bench coach, and Vogt was basically their understudy. He called it like a coaching internship. He was out for the year. He asked if he could just shadow them all year.
Yeah.
And then you look up 6 years later, Murphy's the manager of the Brewers, should win Manager of the Year, and Vogt in Cleveland could do the same.
And both Central teams, both had no expectations. I mean, I thought the Brewers were going to be no good this year, and they've been fantastic. Let's see. Robert says 50-50 is great, but back in the day, don't you think a lot of players could have done it like Mantle and Mays if they wanted to?
Why didn't they?
Yeah, why didn't they? If they didn't want to? That's bogus complaint. Let's see. Carlos says, I'd like to know the difference between the 22 Guardians and the 24 Guardians for you.
I've been asking a lot of players that this week. I think the difference is last year. I think it's learning from failure. I think it's realizing how difficult it is to accomplish what they've accomplished 2 of the last 3 years and understanding that you can't take it for granted. So in terms of the bullpen is better.
Yeah, way better.
I think that's a big difference here. I think there's more experience. I don't know what to expect from Boyd and Cobb in the playoffs, but I think having them around will help. And then offensively, I actually do think it is a more threatening lineup. There are holes in it without a doubt. They absolutely need Quan back and functioning. They need Ramirez and Naylor hitting well. But remember, they went into Yankee Stadium in a must-win game and had Oscar Gonzalez hitting cleanup and had Gabriel Arias playing first base.
Right.
This is different. They had Hedges was catching. He was the everyday catcher then. You had Miles Straw in center field every day. The lineup, I know it's not great. It's so much better than it was 2 years ago. Lane Thomas is an upgrade. Manzardo's an upgrade. So I think that helps. You have better matchup pieces. David Fry off the bench against a lefty is better than whatever they had 2 years ago. So, Noel, if you need a home run in a pinch.
Right.
I think it's more formidable.
Yeah.
from that standpoint. Like
Their
they had no power 2 years ago. Like
Right.
they don't have a ton now, but they had nothing.
Yeah, they're they're mediocre in terms of power now. They were horrible. The bullpen was good then. It's a lot better now. Obviously, the rotation was better in 22, but that's the only thing. But I think their lineup, while flawed, is significantly better than it was in 2022. All right, let me talk to you about Game Time, folks. If you're not using the Game Time app, you should be. Great deals on sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, whatever you're looking for. Download the Game Time app, create an account, take the guesswork out of buying tickets, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, we got to get out of here. I went on to the start of the shows where I'm like, we got to do 32 minutes. We got to end over 50 minutes already. Bonman, a.k.a. SF. What's up, Bulldog? What's up, the Bonman? Neil T. Browns, Cavs, and Guardians all with playoff games in 2024. I think it's only the second time that's happened.
I think it was 95 the other.
I believe so. John Kerr, don't think we would be a playoff team at the beginning of this. Didn't think we'd be a playoff team at the beginning of the season. Hope we keep overachieving. Connor Richardson, Guardians need to get better fundamentally on offense. Too many runner on second, no out scenarios, and not scoring. Rocchio needs to get bunts down. I'm not bunting with a runner on second, nobody out. That doesn't make any sense.
Maybe if it's like the bottom of the 15th and it's
okay. Yeah, I mean there are scenarios.
Yeah,
generally, like yesterday. What team was it? The Mariners. Now they ended up beating the Yankees. I don't remember. It was sometime in the middle of the game. I think it was the fourth or fifth inning. They had a runner on first, nobody out. Their cleanup hitter, Luke Raley, puts down a sacrifice bunt. Then the Yankees intentionally walked their number 5 hitter. So you now took a turn through your 4 and 5 hitters, supposed to be 2 of your best hitters, and neither one got a chance to hit. And instead of having runner on first, nobody out, you have first and second, 1 out. I don't know that your chances of scoring have increased at all because now you have 1 out. Yes, you have a runner on second, but you're up to your 6 hitter in a lineup that's not great as opposed to your 4 hitter. Some teams do these things. I have no idea what they're thinking.
I'd say they should fire their manager, but they already did that.
They did. They certainly did. Let's see. Neil T. Lonnie Chisenhall went off in Texas one time.
3 homers, 9 RBIs. That is true. 5 for 5.
Cult of 38. You're not getting me to read that. I'm not reading that. Mike H. Bull, on a scale of 0 to 10, rate Miles Straw's pinch running this season. 0. When he got picked off the other day, I was throwing things.
I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Yeah. I mean, I understand the role that they want him to play. I don't know. You're going to go to a... We've seen what happened. Like when you have him and Hedges occupying 2 spots on your roster.
Yeah. In the playoffs, if you have 4 bench players and 2 of them cannot hit, I'm not exaggerating. They cannot hit.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good. All right, last one from Karen. She's a big fan. Hi, Bull. Hi, Zach. I love both of you and the Guardians forever. Thank you. And thank all of you. We will have a show on Tuesday after this Cardinal series. No game Monday. Tuesday, starting the final homestand against the Reds. Hopefully, by the time we rejoin you on Tuesday, we'll be talking about another clinch of the division and potentially even a clinch of a bye. Hopefully, the Yankees will have a bad weekend. Then we'll be on next Friday. And then, like I said, after that, we'll be going after every playoff game. Zach, good stuff as always. Have fun in St. Louis.
What do you do here? You eat ribs?
I guess, right? They have good ribs, don't they? You gonna
go?
Have you ever visited the Arch?
A long time ago. Couldn't find it for an hour, and then realized I was standing under it.
No, you're not.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
I think I'm gonna go inside of it though. I learned you can go like up to the top. So
go for it.
I'll let you know how that goes.
All right. We'll talk about that on Friday and many other things. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. We'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show.